This is the Mulligan Stew Podcast. I'm Terry David Mulligan. You can find the details at mulliganstew.ca. How are you? We welcome back a friend to I think Jim Cuddy has been on twice before, as Jim Cuddy and as Jim Cuddy of Blue Rodeo. This is the as Jim Cuddy of Blue Rodeo, because you have to differentiate. He has a solo career, but he has a band career. Many, many, many years with these guys, fighting the fights, making the music. He and Greg Keelor and the rest of those guys in that band, even Colin. And Cripps, the Crippler. And they are on tour. They tried to do this tour as one long tour, but that was 2021 and it didn't work out well. However, they're in the West, which is all we really care about. They're ours now for a while. This weekend, 1920, they're in Edmonton. They head for Vancouver, Victoria. They go back through Alberta, a couple of nights in Calgary, a couple of nights in Banff, one night in Red Deer, and like that. And they have a great new album called Many a Mile, about being on the road. I enjoy these conversations with Jim Cuddy. We are friends. He takes shots at me. I take shots at him. It's a comfortable situation. But if you just separate me from Jim, you have a wonderful dialogue in front of you where Jim tells stories about Blue Rodeo himself, songwriting, he and Greg Keelor, just everything that interests him, because he's constantly looking for new things to talk about. And I love having conversations with him. One of the things we didn't talk about was wine. He has his own wine at Taw's in Niagara, and I'm just about to release a wine that I'm involved in called Q&A, but we're going to leave that to another interview. That's a wine conversation. So here's a conversation about today, right now, on the road. Jim Cuddy, Blue Rodeo, on the Mulligan Stew Podcast. This is Mulligan Stew, CKUA Radio, and the Mulligan Stew Podcast, and the Terry David Mulligan channel on YouTube. And sitting on camera is Jim Cuddy from Blue Rodeo. Did I mention the name of the album?
Many a Mile?
Yeah. I don't think I did. Many a Mile.
There you go. Terry David has said it.
How are you? You good?
Oh, I'm really good. And I'm so glad to see you. It really has, prior to all this disruption, we used to see each other on a very regular basis.
Sure.
A couple times a year, which was very nice. And it's been a long time. So it's really nice to see you. And you look great, by the way.
Thank you, man.
In case that matters to you.
It does matter to me. Well, first of all, I'm upright and breathing. That's what matters. You are, if I'm not mistaken, this being the 9th, you are getting ready to head out tomorrow, right?
Yes.
And what are your anticipations? Most tours, you get ready, you get on your game face and get going. Does this one feel different because of the last 2 years?
Well, this one feels different. However, it is the continuation of an interrupted tour. So We've been doing it. We've done the East Coast. We've done Ontario. We did the summertime show in Toronto. We've done a lot. So we actually have everything all worked out. And this tour out west was supposed to happen in January, February. So it was moved, and then it's come here. So it's nice to get going, but we are up to speed. Like we know what we're doing, and we have the trucks and we have the buses, and it's a very tough market out there now. And we are in that very sweet spot where people will come see us, and the ones that are really high are having trouble, and the ones that are really low are not making enough money to justify. So it's very tough out there, and we're very fortunate. I'm aware of that.
But did you miss the road then? Did you miss? We've talked about being in lockdown. Yeah. We talked about the conversation you had with yourself about writing, staying creative, working in a bubble. But what did you miss most about the road that you're seeing again, realizing again?
That's a tough one. I think that it is boiled down at my age to the playing. I mean, there is such a good energy in Blue Rodeo right now. We're playing really well. We like our upset. We obviously are happy to be back playing, and so I'm thrilled to be out playing. I don't know. I'm leaving now for a month. We don't usually do that. We don't usually go for that long. So I'm not going to see my wife for a month. But there's also, I have all sorts of friends out there. Hopefully I'll see you and Victoria. And I think that the state of mind you get yourself in when you're going on tour is that if you were to contemplate and scrutinize the entirety of it, it would drive you crazy.
Yeah.
You think, oh my God, I'm going to be on a bus and there's going to be 7 other guys and they're all using the same toilet But if you just think of it vaguely, and just do it. And then there's so many good parts of it. Like it's so lovely at the end of the night when we finish playing, we're all in thinking about what we did. So I guess the answer is, I don't know.
That is so romantic. All using the same toilet. That's really good. That captures the romance of the road really well. That's really good.
Tell me, it's a big part of the damn
stunningly
thing.
Visual. And Greg, of course, in the track for track, I was skipping through them as fast as I could. You're talking about how much you love being in the studio and creating, in the barn especially, creating songs and seeing them come forward and having everybody work together as a collective. And Greg says, I hate the studio and I hate the road. No, he says, I love the studio. He loves the studio, but he hates the road. How is he on the road? Does he get grumpy?
I think that Greg maybe exaggerates a little bit. I mean, he loves playing and he's awfully good at it. And so I think he has a very nice life. So it's hard for him to be away from it. He has a very lovely girlfriend. So, but I don't know. Greg seems very happy with what we're doing right now.
Okay.
So I'm anticipating a very happy Greg, but who knows? I can't. I haven't come all this way thinking that I can anticipate everything that's going to happen. I don't.
No, you can't. I just thought it was kind of interesting. I hate the road.
Well, the funny thing is, we have 2 road songs I said my song is "I Think About You" and his song is "Opening Act."
Yeah.
Every verse of his song is about this is crap and I feel terrible and I don't know what I'm doing out here. And mine is like, this is awesome, but I'm lonely and I think about you, and this is awesome, and here we are. It's like, okay, these are the 2 forces that keep Blue Rodeo going.
And the weird thing is, not the weird thing, but just the cathartic thing is that you're at times polar opposites. Mm. And that works. Sometimes if you're at 2 ends of a boat, he's rowing one way, you're rowing the other.
Okay.
I was looking at these dates. I see the 2-nighters, the Jube, of course, 1819, the Queen Elizabeth Theater. Yeah. Dude, what a room! 22nd.
You know 23rd. What? For us at the Queenie, we always like playing the. Oh God, I'm going to forget the name. What's the fancy theater that's in Vancouver? Never mind.
The Orpheum.
The Orpheum, yeah. The Orpheum we love playing, but our crew absolutely hates it. There's just such a difficult load in. Yeah. And for some reason, people in Vancouver, we sell a lot more tickets at the Queenie, and so that's where we go. But it is a beautiful room, and you know what? It's a beautiful sounding room.
Oh, it's a great sounding room.
Yeah, and maybe that's why everybody loves it. Maybe they're really discerning.
It's interesting how many bands come into that Queen Elizabeth Theater, and when the sound doesn't work, they turn it up, and they keep going up and up and up, and the audience disappears. It just goes away. It goes home. Why would you do that? This is a symphony hall. Yeah.
No, that's a mistake. That's a rookie mistake.
Victoria on the 24th at a Save On Food store building. Kamloops, you of course build in Penticton so you can get your wine.
Yes.
And then Banff 2930 at the Center for the Arts. Nice, a 2-night hang in the mountains.
Yeah, well, can I tell you a little bit about that? So there's a day off before that. So there's 3 days in Banff, and we stay up at the center, which is a very, there's lovely rooms, and you're right in the forest.
Yeah.
You look out your window, and there's often elk or deer there, and Basil calls it a living No, he calls it a luxurious prison because he's not just, it's so far from town.
There's nothing but forest.
I just have to, what am I going to do? He's an urban cat, man.
He should appreciate those three. Really, that's a great hang.
I know.
And then December the 1st in Red Deer. And you finish in Alberta December 3-4 at the Southern Alberta Jube. And, right there in Calgary, of course, is the National Music Center. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to probably talk myself into a corner here, but they ask each artist, such as yourselves, with stature, to leave something of significance with them so that they can showcase it for many people to come for however many years.
Right.
Did they ask you?
They have not asked us. We have donated things to the Music Hall of Fame. Well, I guess not the Hall of Fame. That's not true. But the displays that are in the new Massey Hall. Yeah. But it's a little difficult for us because we don't have old stuff. We have old stuff we use, and we don't have guitars we don't use, and so well, it's a little hard. But of course, if they ask, I think that the Music Center in Calgary is an amazing thing, and yeah. I've been going through it since it was being constructed. I've seen people recording in there, Sean McCann recording. I've seen all the keyboards, the theremins. It's beautiful, and we would do what we could, but we haven't been asked. If we were asked, we'd figure something out.
How many cowboy shirts have you got? How many?
Yeah, but I use them.
Yeah,
they're my work.
How about one?
It's like asking a construction guy to give up his boots.
Think of some 12-year-old child standing in front of a case, the Jim Cuddy Blue Rodeo case. There's the shirt that you wore at your Massey Hall gig, and it's on some sort of cadaver. Literally.
That could be me. All right. I you know what? I would be willing. Yeah. I do have. I have enough that I could probably figure that out. But they haven't asked yet. So Terry. So this is a little. I'm
sure after listening to this, after hearing this interview,
I know.
See, and that's what giving, always giving. Let me ask you about a couple of gigs. How did you like the Jazz Fest gig in the summer?
Oh, the Jazz Fest gig was in Ottawa then, correct?
Yeah.
It was fantastic. It was great. I think now we've done Blues Fest, Folk Fest, Jazz Fest in Ottawa. And they're just, they're music fests. And how it's downtown, stay at the Lorne Elgin, you walk across the street. Ottawa audiences are great. They punch above their weight.
Okay.
No, that's not a very big city.
And how about Mariposa? Was Mariposa memorable?
Oh my God, Mariposa was great. We enjoyed our set, of course, but it was very special because that was the night they gave Gordon Lightfoot sort of a Hall of Fame award. And the first time he played Mariposa was 74, 73, something like that. And of course we thought, you took this long to give him the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
But he went out, and Tom Wilson did a beautiful speech, and they gave him the award, and he was so Gordon. And then he sang "If You Could Read My Mind," and it was, there's so much love for him. He has endeared himself to so many people, and he's so himself. Like, just being backstage with him is so encouraging, just about what a good human being he is, and what a unique human being he is.
Truly. Much like yourself. Talking about the audience for a second. What kind of reactions are you getting? What kind of faces are you seeing looking back at you when you have a chance to study a face or the audience? Can you see the 2 years that they spent locked down on their faces, the release, what the music is giving them?
That's a really good question, because I think that's the most profound thing that has happened from the reopening for everybody. First of all, there is an enormously evident pent-up energy. Yeah. People are they want to let it out. They just want to let it out. So the first song's like, wow, that's amazing. And secondly, the audiences are so, at least age-wise, diverse now.
Wow.
So they're, if it's an open, like at Mariposa. Mariposa, you're going to see Blue Rodeo and Gordon Lightfoot. And in the front is all 25, 30-year-olds. And then it goes back to everybody. I mean, just right up to 70, 80, whoever can get there and standing there. It's been kind of overwhelming, the response. And I trust that the other members of the band feel the same way I do. It's not just for us. I think it's some for us, believe me. I think it is for us. But it's also about everybody remembering what this commune feels like, what it feels like to experience this together.
Yeah. And
that's a big deal. 3 years of making do, which we all did. It was all fine. But all of a sudden to just feel, for us, just playing for a big audience, and for them standing beside somebody they don't know that's experiencing the same thing. And this communal feeling is very elevating. It's very overwhelming sometimes. There's lots of tears in the summer. People are getting over it now, but there's lots of tears in the summer.
Were I you, and I'm not, but were I you, I'd be thinking about that family in the front row. Mom and Dad, they know me. I bet those kids have no idea who we are, or they don't know about our story or our history, but they are a new audience for you to charm and bring along to the party. I'm just kind of wondering if you have those conversations with yourself.
Lots of conversations, but I think that a lot of those younger people have been raised in a household where our music was played a lot. Yeah. Not just ours, but a lot of our ilk and a lot of our generation. And so they come, and for them, it's almost like remembering their childhood. The songs that their mother cranked up when she was making dinner, or their father, whatever. Dancing. So there's a lot of that, and it's obviously it's good. Like you can't go wrong having another generation like your band.
I'm thinking about singer-songwriters who are my age or approaching it or on the other side of it. And and it seems to me that your life doesn't end when you're 70 or 65 or 70 or whatever, that you can take your music as far as you want to go until your body or your mind or your family says that's it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that, from long ago, I would look and think 60 or 65 is that's the shelf life. And then people like Dylan's a funny example, but Paul McCartney and et cetera, they kept going. So 65, so 70, and then it becomes 80. But then you look and you think, for me, Neil Young, Steve Earle, John Prine till he died, they were putting out music I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, I felt like they never let me down. And it's not like I have to go back to their earlier records. I like the new one. I like what's happening. So I like to think of us in that camp, that we're still producing music that people want to hear, and we're certainly producing music that we think's good. So that's the only gauge we've ever used. But yeah, I think that the shelf life has extended.
And who would have thought that Jerry Lee was the last one standing? The killer, the guy who lived the hardest of the lives, the last one standing.
It was great to read the bio. Great to read the bio. When he's asked, why, what about this 14-year-old? I married her, didn't I? Like, oh my God, that was great. She's 14, man. And she's your cousin.
When You Were Wild, I love the track, of course, I understand why you chose it. When You Were Wild, it's Greg's song from his Coburg sessions. He became a fully grown guy in Coburg. He and Jimmy. Yeah. And I get a sense it's about friendships. What do you think?
Yeah. But I think it's about friendships changing. I think it's about close relations changing, and then looking back to what drew you to that person.
Okay. I owe it to myself. I can't put words in your mouth. You mentioned circling the wagons. Like, if you're going to go through this, you're going to go through this with those people, these people right here. I'm going to be part of this group. Does that Does that?
Oh, that's entirely true. And I think that what happened during the pandemic was this incredibly stressful period of a full reexamination of your life. Couldn't do what we wanted to do, and so we had to hunker down. And then we realized that we needed to identify our tribe. Like, who's your tribe?
Yeah.
And who do you need to
Yeah.
stay in touch with and make sure they're okay and get together. And I also figured that I don't know how to put this, but you do a lot of in music, although it seems like a very egocentric business, and it is.
Yeah.
But you do a lot of things for other people. You're constantly trying to put yourself out there to please those around you. And my thought was, I think this is a time where I need to assess what I need to make my life happy. And I don't think I would have ever 10 years ago, I don't think I ever would have said in a lyric, I need to find my joy again. That just sounds so psychotherapy, but that was the essence of the song.
When I heard from the office that we were going to do this interview, I was in the middle of doing the stew, and I was playing The Boxer from Ryman Simon, Paul Simon live with Jesse Dixon Singers and Black Room Famosa. And then when I get to I Will Wait for You. I Will Wait for You.
Yeah, I'll wait for you. Yeah.
But you talked about that partnership breaking up. And the ironic thing is that Carnal Knowledge was shot in Vancouver.
Oh, was it?
And Meg, my Meg, was hitchhiking one day up Grouse Mountain, and Art picked her up. Art and somebody
Come on.
Yeah.
Really?
She and her girlfriend were, and they got up to the ski hill in the back of the car.
Wow.
So that's why
I guess I always figured that was California.
I Will Wait for You. Reminded you of Paul Simon or Art Garfunkel or what they were doing?
No, it's his Paul Simon's song "Only Living Boy in New York."
Yeah,
which is about. In my mind, there's a strange dynamic between Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. Paul Simon was clearly the architect of everything they did, but Art was somehow the power in that relationship. And so if Paul Simon is singing a song to Art, because Art's going to do a movie, and you're worried about Art, or worried about being left behind. He calls himself the only living boy in New York. And I just thought that was a lovely sentiment. And he's saying to him, everything is going to go fine. And for me, it became more of a reflection on my children. It became more of a reflection on that time, this as well as I do, where in your life as a parent, where you realize that your children have entirely separate lives and they need your support, but they don't need your guidance, and they need to live their lives. And you have to now step back and just observe. Okay. And so I just tried to write a song for my children.
Okay, we've come to that point in our conversation on our relationship where there's only time for questions, not answers. Okay. Okay. However, I will. The first song I played off the album, you can't possibly guess it. You can't possibly know. How could you possibly know which one was my favorite, or which one caught my heart, my head, my heart, my ears? But it is "I Think About You." That one.
Oh, nice.
And that's going to work in concert. It's going to be one of your best songs. Period. Anything we should know about it so that when we sing along, we know what we're singing?
Well,
it was about the road, wasn't it?
It's about the road. Look, it's tedious to write about the road. I get it. I understand that. And it's funny that Greg and I wrote very separately 2 songs about the road. Him about how befuddled the road makes him, and me about how I feel about leaving everything behind. I mean, that was our life. Our life was, these are opportunities, but these opportunities happen somewhere else than in this house where we have children. So I have to go. And the only thing you can say is, I am connected and I'm thinking about you. And I mean, look, I always say comedically, I can exactly remember when I was in Lake Louise and I phoned Rena and they'd given me a beautiful suite, and I started describing where I was, and it was total silence at the other end of the line. And she said, "I don't need to hear that anymore." And I thought that was it. And you don't need to hear how great a life your partner's having when you're home, absorbing 100% of the responsibility that you actually share.
Yeah.
So that was what that song was about. There's all kinds of messages to Rena in it. I don't even know if she's heard it or or has responded, but it's written specifically with my little messages to her.
I have an aside, by the way. Thank you for that. I have an aside. I did an interview with Barney because he's out there on the road with Caribou Express, and you guys are doing gigs together, and you're going to do gigs with you and your sons together.
Not our sons, only his.
Only his.
Dustin.
Oh, yeah. I thought Dustin.
No,
okay. Right.
No.
All right. Well, so much for my question, but I mean, because he said, I make a point of singing his hit from his rock and roll days because you hate it. You hate him singing that song on stage.
I do.
Yeah.
No, what he's joking about is that "Come Back to Me" is like both of my sons have recorded that song.
Yeah,
both of them, and they were. We do these charity trips, and Barney and I go, and it's often with our kids, and obviously my two sons come. And Tara Lightfoot has been invited this year. And they saw Tara, and they said, "Okay, you're coming on these trips. You have to decide whether you're a Barney guy or a Jim guy." And she goes, "I'm a Jim guy." And they go, "We're Barney guys." So it's just mock anger. I was like, why Barney? Why didn't you record one of my songs? No.
I can't get in the other questions. I've run out of time.
Okay.
However, it's good to see you. See you and know that you're on the road and they're making music, and as the applause and yells wash over you. I hope you appreciate who you are and what you've created.
Oh, that's very kind, and I appreciate the opportunities I've been given. Believe me, that is my mantra.
And please walk up to Greg and give him a hug for me.
Oh, he loves hugs.
I think we connected. He and I, sort of a cosmic thing. Anyway.
Well, hopefully we'll see you on the island,
I'll see you in Victoria. I'm going to need some sort of pass to get in. They don't know who I am.
Not sure I can handle that.
Okay.
Not sure about that.
Okay. And by the way, I am going to bring you a bottle of wine.
Okay. What do you got?
It's one of a kind. Hold on a second. It's a bottle of wine called Q&A. And it's the initials on the signatures on the back are myself and Jason Breesley and Michael Mosney, a winemaker in the Okanagan, who saw us on Hollywood and Vines. And he and his wife moved to the Okanagan to make wine. And now 7, 8, 9 years later, he came to us and said, "Let's make a Bordeaux blend together," and we did.
Oh, that's great. And what is the greatest percentage of grape? What grape is the greatest percentage?
Merlot.
Merlot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what the Okanagan does.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I look forward to trying it.
When will you come out solo with band?
Well, I had a record almost complete when Greg called me, and so I will probably finish it in January and then see what the powers that be decide when to put it out. But it'll be next year at some good point.
Thank you for talking to me.
It's such a pleasure, Terry.
I'll see you in Victoria, and I'll get a hold of the office, and I'll see you at Soundcheck.
Okay. I look forward to that.
Thanks, Jim.
See you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. You know the voice, I'm sure. Jim Cuddy, Blue Rodeo, co-leader, co-founder, co-writer, co-singer. And they are still together, he and Greg Keelor and the rest of that band. So guys have come and gone, but they're still Blue Rodeo. And they represent the high harmony, the great sound of Canadian music. Those harmonies up high, that's Canada. That's Jim Cuddy and Blue Rodeo. I just finished an interview with Art Bergman and Jason Snyder. Jason wrote a book called The Longest Suicide. And if there was ever someone to write a book about, a life story about, it's Art Bergman. He is a survivor is what he is. And I hope he survives longer than me. We've known each other a long time. And actually, in the conversation, I mentioned to him that I walked into a strip club where he wanted me to do an interview with him. He said, I'll meet you there. And it was dingy and dark. And I thought, if this guy lives his life in rooms like this, there's no way he's going to escape it. He's just going to be drawn into a hellhole. But he survived. He lost Sherry along the way, and he's having to deal with not being a partner. Oh, boy. Anyway, so Art Bergman's coming. There are other interviews that I'm looking forward to sharing with you, but let's take them one at a time. Thank you for subscribing on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. We'll see you down the road. Thank you.